A global enterprise is aiming to deliver consistent value through IT-enabled services. The leadership team wants to establish a structured approach that integrates governance, continuous improvement, and flexible service delivery. They also want to ensure their strategy influences daily operations and decisions. Which component of the ITIL 4 framework would best support this objective? Select one answer. A, ITIL service value chain. B, the 4 dimensions model. C, the ITIL guiding principles. D, ITIL service value system, SVS. The correct answer is D, ITIL service value system, SVS. Let's take a moment to explain why this is the best choice and examine the other options too. To begin, the ITIL Service Value System, or SVS, is the overarching framework in ITIL 4. It integrates several core components like the guiding principles, governance, service value chain, management practices, and continual improvement, all working together to enable value creation. Because the question emphasizes strategic alignment, governance, continual improvement, and service delivery, the SVS is the only component that brings all these elements into a unified system. Now, while the service value chain is central to delivering services, it's only a part of the SVS and doesn't include governance or continual improvement by itself. Similarly, the guiding principles help shape behavior and decision-making, but they function as one part within the broader SVS, not a standalone solution for organization-wide coordination. Lastly, the 4 dimensions model gives a balanced view of service management, covering organizations, information, partners, and technologies. But on its own, it doesn't integrate these into a cohesive operating model. So, to align strategy with operations and ensure consistent value delivery across all aspects of the enterprise, the ITIL Service Value System is clearly the most complete and effective choice. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. In a typical service consumption relationship, the customer defines the service requirements, the sponsor approves the budget for the service, and the user is the person who uses the service. Now let's break it down and explain why. First, the customer is responsible for defining what the service needs to deliver. They determine the functionality, performance, and outcomes expected from the service. For example, a department head requesting a software application for tracking performance would be acting as the customer. Next, the sponsor is the individual or party that approves and provides the funding necessary for service consumption. They may not use the service directly, but are crucial for enabling access to it. Think of a senior executive signing off on the budget for a company-wide platform. Lastly, the user is the person who interacts with and utilizes the service on a regular basis. They experience the output directly, like employees using a payroll system to access pay slips or submit requests. Although terms like designer, manager, or payer may seem close, they don't align exactly with the roles in this context. The designer builds the service, the manager oversees operations, and the payer may fund it, but none specifically match the responsibilities outlined in the question. This clear role separation helps IT service management function effectively by ensuring everyone knows their part in the service value chain. In service management, products are often complex and are not fully visible to the consumer. What does this imply about the nature of products in the context of service provision? Select one answer. A, the entire product is always visible to the consumer, including all components. B, only the consumer-facing components of the product are visible while other parts remain hidden. C, products are designed to be completely transparent to the consumer so they can see every detail. D, the complexity of the product makes it irrelevant to the service offering. The correct answer is B, only the consumer-facing components of the product are visible, while other parts remain hidden. Let's walk through this and explain why B is correct and the others are not. In ITIL 4, products are seen as combinations of resources and components that enable value creation, but the consumer doesn't need to see everything. Only the parts that directly affect the consumer's experience are made visible. For example, when you use a mobile banking app, you interact with a simple user interface, but you don't see the underlying servers, databases, or cybersecurity protocols. Those hidden layers are still part of the product, but they're not exposed. Now, Answer A is incorrect because exposing the entire product contradicts the idea of abstraction and user experience design. Organizations intentionally hide complexity to keep service delivery efficient and user-friendly. Option C also misses the point. Products are not meant to be completely transparent. ITIL emphasizes relevance, not total visibility. As for D, complexity does matter. It's just managed behind the scenes. The fact that a product is complex doesn't mean it's irrelevant. Rather, the complexity is handled internally so the consumer experience remains smooth and focused. So the key idea here is service consumers only see what they need to see, the visible, relevant portions of the product. For each statement below, indicate whether the answer is true or false. ITIL 4 was launched in 2019 to reshape ITIL practices for modern digital environments. Correct answer, true. ITIL v3 introduced a lifecycle-based approach consisting of 5 core publications. Correct answer, true. ITIL 4 ignores previous versions and focuses only on new methods like DevOps. Correct answer, false. The ITIL framework is aligned with international standards such as ISO IEC 2000. Correct answer, true. Now, let's explain each one. First, ITIL 4 was launched in 2019 to modernize IT service management. It introduced practices aligned with Agile, DevOps, and Lean to help organizations adapt to fast-paced digital transformations. Second, ITIL v3 introduced a lifecycle model built around 5 stages: service strategy, service design, service transition, service operation, and continual service improvement. This model shaped ITIL practices for over a decade. Third, the statement that ITIL 4 ignores previous versions is false. ITIL 4 builds on the strengths of earlier versions. It preserves valuable concepts while incorporating modern approaches like DevOps and Agile, making it evolutionary, not a complete departure. Lastly, ITIL is aligned with international standards such as ISO IEC 2000. This alignment ensures it can be adopted widely across industries, both public and private, ensuring best practices are standardized and trusted globally. Altogether, these statements reflect ITIL's ongoing relevance and adaptability in managing digital services. Which of the following best defines value in ITIL 4? Select one answer. A, a list of SLAs that must be met. B, only the cost of service to the customer. C, the perceived benefits, usefulness, and importance of something. D, how well a service follows ITIL recommendations. Correct answer, C, the perceived benefits, usefulness, and importance of something. Let's take a moment to explain why this is correct and why the others are not. According to ITIL 4, value is not just about cost or compliance. It's defined as the perceived benefits, usefulness, and importance of something. That means value is subjective and depends on how well a service meets the needs of the consumer or stakeholder. For example, a cloud storage service is valuable not just because it exists or is cheap, but because users find it reliable, accessible, and essential to their daily tasks. Now, option A refers to SLAs, service level agreements. While SLAs are important for measuring performance, they don't define value. A service might meet all SLAs and still not be useful to the customer if it doesn't support their goals. Option B focuses solely on cost, but cost alone doesn't capture the full picture. A cheap service that lacks functionality or relevance offers little value. Lastly, option D talks about how well a service follows ITIL recommendations. However, compliance doesn't automatically equal value. Value is about real-world outcomes, not just best practice checklists. So, the key takeaway is that in ITIL 4, value is centered on the experience and perception of the service consumer, not just technical performance or internal metrics. Which two are characteristics of as-a-service offerings that impact sourcing strategy? Select two answers. A, shifts capital expenses to operating expenses. B, requires long-term hardware procurement. C, provides bundled infrastructure, software, or platforms. D, eliminates the need for internet access. Correct answers. A, shifts capital expenses to operating expenses. C, provides bundled infrastructure, software, or platforms. Let's go over why A and C are correct and why the others are not. First, as-a-service models like software as a service, SaaS, or infrastructure as a service, IaaS, allow organizations to shift capital expenses, CapEx, to operating expenses, OpEx. Instead of investing heavily upfront in servers or licenses, companies subscribe to services and pay as they go. This flexibility can significantly influence sourcing decisions and budgeting. Next, these models often bundle infrastructure, software, or platforms into one seamless solution. For example, cloud platforms may include hosting, storage, networking, and built-in applications, removing the need to procure each component separately. This integration simplifies vendor management and speeds up deployment. Now, option B is incorrect because as-a-service models reduce or even eliminate the need for long-term hardware procurement. One of their main advantages is avoiding big hardware investments. Option D is also incorrect because internet access is typically required for accessing cloud-based or remote services. Rather than eliminating the need, it makes reliable connectivity even more important. So, to recap, the key characteristics are reducing capital spending and offering complete bundled service solutions. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. A process consists of interrelated actions transforming inputs into outputs and is supported by procedures that define roles and responsibilities. Let's explain why this is correct and how it fits into IT service management. A process in ITIL refers to a structured set of activities designed to accomplish a specific objective. It defines what needs to be done and in what sequence. For example, the incident management process outlines steps to restore normal service operation quickly after an interruption. Procedures, on the other hand, describe how each step in the process is carried out and who is responsible. So while the process might specify that an incident must be logged and categorized, the procedure will explain exactly how the service desk agent logs it, what tool they use, and the data required. Some of the incorrect options help clarify this even more. A value stream is broader. It maps the end-to-end delivery of value, often spanning multiple processes. Capability refers to a team's or system's ability, not a series of steps. And a marketing brief is unrelated to operational workflows in IT service management. So when structuring operations, remember, processes set the path, procedures define the execution. What do processes define in service management? Select two answers. A, sequence of actions. B, financial targets. C, dependencies between steps. D, employee salaries. Correct answers: A, sequence of actions. C, dependencies between steps. Now let's go over why these two answers are correct. In IT service management, a process is a structured set of activities designed to accomplish a specific outcome. One of its main roles is to define the sequence of actions, in other words, the exact order in which tasks should be performed. For instance, in the incident management process, the order might begin with logging the issue, categorizing it, and then escalating if needed. Alongside the sequence, processes also specify dependencies between steps. This means they describe how one action relies on the completion or outcome of another. For example, in change management, you can't implement a change until it has been approved. That dependency must be clearly laid out in the process. Now, financial targets are incorrect here because setting budgets or revenue goals is a strategic or financial planning activity, not a function of process design. Similarly, employee salaries are managed through HR and compensation policies, which are unrelated to process structures in service management. So, the essence of process definition lies in setting the order and the interconnections between steps to ensure consistent and efficient delivery. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. Pestle factors such as political, economic, and technological forces affect how organizations approach their dimensions. Let's unpack why these are the correct choices. PESTLE stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. These are external factors that influence an organization's environment and must be considered when designing and managing services. For example, new data protection laws, a legal factor, could impact how an organization handles customer information. These external influences shape how the four service management dimensions, organizations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, and value streams and processes, are structured and operated. For instance, a shift in the economic climate might require adjustments in sourcing strategies or workforce planning. Now, the incorrect options help clarify things further. SIAM is a model for managing multiple suppliers and doesn't refer to external environmental factors. Internal audits are internal control mechanisms, not part of the external scan. Delivery models describe how services are provided but don't directly cover the broader external environment. So, in summary, PESTEL factors help organizations align their dimensions with the external world, ensuring services remain relevant and resilient. A company faces regulatory pressure to secure customer data and ensure compliance. Its IT team is assessing the tools and policies necessary for protecting and archiving information. Which service management dimension is most relevant in this case? Select one answer. A. Information and technology. B. Organizations and people. C. Partners and suppliers. D. Value streams and processes. Correct answer, A. Information and technology. Let's explore why this is the right choice. The information and technology dimension directly concerns the tools, data, systems, and technology used to support service management. In this scenario, since the organization is focused on securing customer data and ensuring regulatory compliance, this dimension is the most relevant. It covers the protection, storage, transmission, and governance of data, exactly what's needed when dealing with privacy laws like GDPR or HIPAA. Now, option B, organizations and people, is more about structure, culture, and collaboration, not the technical or data security side of compliance. Option C, partners and suppliers, deals with outsourcing and vendor management. While third-party risk may matter, this case is clearly focused on internal data handling and compliance. Option D, value streams and processes, defines how work flows through the organization. While important for efficiency, it doesn't directly address data protection or compliance requirements. So, when compliance and data protection are central, the dimension that governs information and the technology used to manage it takes priority. An enterprise wants to improve its sourcing strategy and ensure flexibility in its supplier relationships. It considers adopting a model that allows for collaboration with multiple service providers at different levels of formality. Which strategies or models best align with their goal? Select two answers. A. Using service integration and management. B. Implementing strict internal communication protocols. C. Building flexible partnerships alongside formal contracts. D. Increasing workflow automation. Correct answers: A. Using service integration and management. C. Building flexible partnerships alongside formal contracts. Let's now walk through why these are the best choices. First, service integration and management (SIEM) is a proven model for managing multiple service providers. It's designed specifically for environments with various suppliers working at different levels of formality. SIEM ensures coordination, integration, and alignment between all providers, which enhances both control and flexibility. Next, building flexible partnerships alongside formal contracts is essential for modern sourcing strategies. Rather than relying solely on rigid agreements, successful organizations build trust-based relationships that can adapt to change, whether in technology, market demand, or operational priorities. This approach is a central idea within the partners and suppliers dimension of ITIL 4. Now, option B, implementing strict internal communication protocols, relates more to organizational culture and team dynamics. While important, it doesn't directly address external supplier strategy or flexibility. Option D, increasing workflow automation, aims at improving internal efficiency. Although helpful for performance, it doesn't support the goal of flexible and collaborative external sourcing. So if the goal is to improve collaboration and flexibility with service providers, SIAM and adaptive partnerships are clearly the right models to pursue. Which of the following are examples of opportunity in the context of service management? Select two answers. A. A consumer demands an urgent fix to a previously identified issue. B. A business partner requires additional resources for an existing service. C. An organization identifies new technologies that could enhance its service offerings. D. A company receives feedback about a potential market gap it can fill with a new service. Correct answers. C. An organization identifies new technologies that could enhance its service offerings. D. A company receives feedback about a potential market gap it can fill with a new service. Now let's explain why these two are correct examples of opportunity in IT service management. Option C reflects a proactive opportunity to innovate and improve services. When an organization identifies new technologies, it sees a chance to enhance what it offers to customers, potentially increasing satisfaction, performance, or competitiveness. Option D also represents a clear opportunity. When a company identifies a market gap through feedback, it can create a new service to meet that need. This is a classic example of discovering an unmet demand that can be addressed for added value. Now, why are the others incorrect? Option A refers to demand, not opportunity. A consumer requesting a fix is simply expressing an immediate need, not presenting a new way to create value. Option B describes a request for additional resources, which is about scaling or supporting existing services. It does not involve introducing anything new or innovative, so it doesn't count as an opportunity in the strategic sense. In summary, opportunities are about recognizing potential for growth, enhancement, or innovation, whether through technology or unmet market needs. For each guiding principle, drag it to the appropriate boxes in the correct match column to match it against its description in the option column. Ensures all actions map to value creation for stakeholders. Focus on value. Leverage existing resources before starting from scratch. Correct match, start where you are. Use smaller, manageable sections and iterate based on feedback. Correct match, progress iteratively with feedback. Ensure collaboration and transparency across boundaries. Correct match, collaborate and promote visibility. Let's now walk through the reasoning behind each match. Focus on value means that every activity, decision, or resource allocation must align with what stakeholders actually need and find valuable. This principle keeps the organization centered on delivering meaningful outcomes. Start where you are encourages teams to assess their current capabilities and resources before reinventing the wheel. Instead of starting over, it's often more efficient to build on what's already working. Progress iteratively with feedback emphasizes small steps and continuous learning. By delivering in stages and actively gathering feedback, organizations can adapt quickly, reduce risk, and drive improvement. Collaborate and promote visibility stresses the importance of teamwork, openness, and shared understanding. Visibility supports trust, removes silos, and improves alignment between teams and stakeholders. Together, these principles guide behavior and decision-making in modern service management under ITIL 4. How does Agile software development differ from ITIL service management? Select one answer. A. Agile focuses on delivering product increments quickly, while ITIL focuses on long-term service sustainability. B. Agile focuses on service stability, while ITIL emphasizes flexibility and rapid product release. C. Agile methodologies focus on efficiency and process improvement, while ITIL is concerned only with operational performance. D. Agile and ITIL have the same goals and methods, so they can be used interchangeably. Correct answer, A. Agile focuses on delivering product increments quickly, while ITIL focuses on long-term service sustainability. Let's explain why this answer is the most accurate. Agile methodologies are designed to deliver value rapidly through incremental product releases. They emphasize short feedback loops, quick adaptability, and frequent delivery of working solutions. This approach helps teams respond to change and improve continuously. In contrast, ITIL focuses on the sustainability and governance of services over time. It ensures services are stable, reliable, and well managed across their entire lifecycle, from design through operation and continual improvement. While Agile pushes rapid iteration, ITIL maintains long-term oversight and consistency. Now the other options are incorrect. Option B flips the characteristics. Agile is about flexibility, not stability, and ITIL is about sustainability, not speed of release. Option C understates ITIL's scope. ITIL doesn't only address operations, it manages the entire service lifecycle, while Agile also improves processes and collaboration, not just efficiency. Option D falsely claims Agile and ITIL have the same goals and methods. In reality, they are complementary but distinct, and integrating them requires thoughtful coordination. So Agile is all about fast delivery of value, while ITIL is about ensuring that delivery is reliable, sustainable, and compliant over the long term. Arrange the following steps in the correct order to apply optimization and automation using multiple guiding principles. Instruction: drag and drop the items into the correct order, starting with the first step at the top. Correct order: Start with available technology and capabilities. Simplify or optimize the process. Define metrics to track value outcomes. Apply guiding principles like feedback, value, and simplicity. Proceed with automation in small, visible increments. Let's briefly explain the logic behind this sequence. First, you begin by assessing what tools and capabilities already exist in the organization. This helps avoid unnecessary purchases or redundant systems. Next, before automating anything, it's essential to simplify or optimize the process. Automating a broken or inefficient process only scales the inefficiency. Then, define metrics to measure value. Without metrics, there's no clear way to know whether optimization or automation has improved anything. After that, apply relevant guiding principles. Principles like progress iteratively with feedback or focus on value help ensure decisions are thoughtful and adaptive. Finally, you proceed with automation, but only in small, visible increments. This reduces risk, increases learning, and allows quick course correction where needed. This structured approach ensures that optimization and automation efforts are effective, sustainable, and aligned with the organization's goals. For each statement below, indicate whether it is true or false. Each value chain activity uses different combinations of ITIL practices. True. A value stream is the same as the value chain. False. Agile principles can be applied to infrastructure as code. True. Fragmented agility still results in a successful value chain. False. Now let's go ahead and explain each one clearly. The first statement is true. Each activity in the ITIL service value chain is supported by a unique mix of ITIL practices. For example, incident management might support one activity, while change control supports another, depending on the outcome being delivered. The second statement is false. A value stream is not the same as the value chain. The value chain is the overarching model showing how value is created, while a value stream is a specific path through the value chain to deliver a particular service or product. The third statement is true. Agile principles like automation and rapid iteration can absolutely apply to infrastructure as code. For instance, DevOps teams use code to configure servers and environments quickly and repeatedly, which aligns well with Agile's focus on flexibility and speed. The final statement is false. Fragmented agility, where only parts of an organization adopt Agile, actually slows down overall performance. Instead of supporting a streamlined value chain, it creates silos and friction that waste time and resources. Altogether, these insights help distinguish how service management and Agile practices work together for efficient, value-driven delivery. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. The continual improvement model supports structured enhancements across all levels and promotes incremental improvements using manageable pieces. Let's break this down for better understanding. The model is described as structured because it provides a deliberate, high-level framework for making changes. This means improvements aren't random or reactive. They follow a systematic approach that ensures alignment with organizational goals. It is also incremental, which means it encourages small, consistent progress rather than massive, one-time overhauls. These smaller changes are easier to manage, test, and adapt over time. For example, instead of revamping an entire IT service at once, a team may improve specific features step by step, learning and adjusting along the way. Now, the incorrect options help reinforce this logic. Unstructured would imply a lack of order, which contradicts the entire premise of continual improvement. One-time changes don't align either, as the model is about continuous, ongoing development, not single events. So, in essence, the continual improvement model is both methodical and gradual, ensuring lasting value while minimizing risk. See, a service improvement team proposes removing a complex process that adds no measurable value and replacing it with a shorter, outcome-focused workflow. Select one answer. A. This violates the holistic approach principle. B. This demonstrates keep it simple and practical. C. This reflects customer obsession over simplicity. D. This contradicts service visibility goals. Correct answer. B. This demonstrates keep it simple and practical. Now let's explain why this is the best answer. The keep it simple and practical principle encourages organizations to eliminate unnecessary steps and avoid overcomplicating workflows. In this scenario, the team is replacing a complex, low-value process with a more streamlined, outcome-focused one. That directly reflects this guiding principle: simplicity with purpose. Let's consider the incorrect options. Saying this violates the holistic approach is misleading. The holistic principle doesn't oppose simplification, rather it supports it, as long as the full context is considered, which is what the team is doing here. Option C, about customer obsession, isn't relevant. The change described is about internal efficiency, not tailoring experiences based on customer sentiment or psychology. Finally, option D is incorrect because simplifying a process usually improves, not contradicts, service visibility. It makes workflows more transparent and understandable and easier to monitor. So overall, this action aligns perfectly with ITIL's encouragement to simplify wherever possible without sacrificing value. Your IT department is trying to improve customer satisfaction with incident resolution. They want to ensure improvements align with business goals and are executed effectively. The team has already defined what success looks like and developed a roadmap for how to get there. What should they focus on next? Select two answers. A, yes, take action on the roadmap that has been created. B, yes, define the vision for the improvement initiative. Yes, evaluate progress against SMART goals. D, no, jump straight to promoting momentum and culture. Correct answers A and C. Let's break this down. Since the vision has already been defined and the roadmap is in place, the next logical step is execution. That's why take action on the roadmap that has been created is correct. It aligns with step 5 of the continual improvement model, where the plan is put into motion. Next, it's essential to measure whether that action is making an impact. That's where evaluate progress against SMART goals comes in. This corresponds to step 6, which emphasizes tracking measurable outcomes to ensure objectives are met. Now, defining the vision again would be redundant. That's step 1, and it's already been completed. And jumping to promoting momentum and culture is premature. That's step 7. It should only come after evaluating progress and confirming that improvements are working. So, the right focus now is execution, followed by measurement. That's the path to meaningful and sustainable service improvement. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. When analyzing the current state, organizations may use SWOT analysis or balanced scorecard reviews. Continual improvement ideas can originate from software development or other active practices. Let me explain why these options are correct. SWOT analysis helps uncover both internal strengths and weaknesses as well as external opportunities and threats. This provides a well-rounded view of performance challenges and potentials. Balanced scorecard, on the other hand, takes a more structured, multidimensional look at organizational performance across financial, customer, internal process, and learning perspectives, giving you a strategic snapshot of how well you're doing. Now, for the source of improvement ideas, software development is a great candidate. Why? Because development teams are constantly iterating, testing, and delivering. During that process, they often uncover inefficiencies, bugs, or feature gaps that spark ideas for improvement. In contrast, options like KPI matrix or procurement cycle are either too narrow or focused on other areas like reporting or vendor management. That's why they're not suitable for evaluating the current state or generating improvement initiatives. So if you're aiming to truly understand how things stand and generate practical next steps, SWOT, balanced scorecard, and insights from software development are your go-to tools. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. Strategy must support both efficient operations and innovation, ensuring value delivery while adapting to changing customer needs. Let's explore why these choices are correct. Efficient operations are essential for maintaining consistent service quality and cost effectiveness. Without them, even the best strategic plans fall apart due to inefficiencies, delays, or resource waste. At the same time, innovation is key to staying competitive in a rapidly evolving market. It allows organizations to respond to emerging customer expectations and changing technologies, keeping the service relevant and valuable. Now, what about the other options? Experimentation is a useful method, but not a strategic end in itself. It's a tool, not a target. Low-value services go against the core purpose of strategy, which is to maximize value delivery. Resource planning is important, but it supports strategy rather than defining its direction. And profitability metrics simply measure outcomes. They don't guide or shape strategy. In sum, an effective strategy must balance the reliable with the adaptable, efficient operations and innovation to ensure long-term value for both the organization and its customers. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. Business analysis relies on relationship management to involve the right people and uses validated requirements to support the design of effective solutions. Now let's break down why this is the best choice. Relationship management ensures that stakeholders are effectively engaged and their input is considered at the right time. This avoids miscommunication, missed expectations, and delays. It's foundational for aligning solutions with actual business needs. Validated requirements are those that have been confirmed through stakeholder agreement and feasibility checks. Using them ensures the solution addresses the real problem and avoids costly rework. The other options, like access control, audit logs, escalation charts, and programming libraries, are operational or technical tools. While useful in specific contexts, they don't directly support the goals of stakeholder involvement or effective business analysis. In short, successful business analysis is driven by clear relationships and confirmed needs, not just technical data. Fill in the blanks by selecting the correct options from the drop-down menus. IT asset management contributes to service value by making the cost and value of assets visible. While audits are still used, it is more effective to update records automatically during asset lifecycle events, such as procurement, deployment, or retirement. For example, when a new cloud instance is provisioned, that data should be captured immediately in the asset register. Let's now explain each of the correct choices and why they matter. First, IT asset management supports service value because understanding and managing assets drives better organizational decisions and overall value. Then, making the cost and value of assets visible supports budgeting, investment planning, and service prioritization. Next, it is more effective to update records during lifecycle events like provisioning or retirement. This allows for real-time accuracy and significantly reduces the burden of audits. Lastly, data should be captured immediately. Doing so avoids gaps in the asset register and ensures a complete and timely record, especially important in cloud and virtual environments. Now let's look at the incorrect options. Encrypt all assets may improve security but isn't central to tracking or managing asset value. Perform daily audits is unrealistic and adds overhead, especially when real-time updates are possible. Raise service tickets belongs to incident or request management, not asset tracking. Finally, trigger security policies is a function of cybersecurity, not asset lifecycle or valuation. These distinctions matter because they clarify the scope of IT asset management, focusing on visibility, value, and lifecycle accuracy, not just control or security. For each statement below, indicate whether it is true or false. The service catalog should provide consistent information about available services. True. Each department should have its own isolated service catalog. False. A request catalog is a user-facing view of services that can be ordered. True. The service catalog is only relevant during the delivery and support stages of the value chain. Now, let's go over each of these answers and explain the reasoning behind them. First, the service catalog should provide consistent information about available services. That's true. One of the primary purposes of service catalog management is to ensure consistency in how services are described and understood across the organization. Next, the idea that each department should have its own isolated service catalog is false. Isolated or siloed catalogs introduce complexity and inconsistency. Best practice is to provide a single source of truth with role-based views tailored for different users or departments. Then, a request catalog is a user-facing view of services that can be ordered. And this is true. It's the part of the service catalog that allows users to view and initiate service requests in a simplified, consumable format. Lastly, the statement that the service catalog is only relevant during the delivery and support stages is false. The catalog is useful throughout the value chain, including planning, engagement, design, and continual improvement. It informs decisions and activities at every stage. This understanding helps ensure the service catalog remains a strategic tool, not just an operational list. For each continuity management concept, drag it to the appropriate definition in the correct match column. Each item may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Identifies vital business functions and dependencies. Business impact analysis. Maximum acceptable downtime after disruption. Recovery time objective. Restores info to a usable point after service resumes. Recovery point objective. Set of plans to recover and return to pre-disaster state. Disaster recovery plans. Now let's walk through the reasoning behind these answers, followed by a quick look at the incorrect options. First, business impact analysis is used to identify which business functions and dependencies are critical. This includes things like suppliers and processes. Understanding these helps prioritize recovery efforts. Then we have recovery time objective. This refers to the maximum amount of time a service can be unavailable before the disruption causes unacceptable impact to the organization. Next, recovery point objective is about data. It defines the latest point in time to which information must be restored after a disruption. If your last backup was 2 hours ago, then your RPO is 2 hours. Finally, disaster recovery plans provide detailed procedures to restore operations and bring the organization back to its pre-disaster state. Now for the unused and incorrect options. Service desk plan is not used here because it typically outlines procedures for handling service desk operations, not disaster recovery. Problem analysis sheet deals with identifying root causes in problem management, which is different from planning for continuity or disaster response. Understanding these concepts ensures effective planning and minimal disruption during unexpected incidents. An enterprise is experiencing difficulty managing change due to outdated systems, duplicate third-party contracts, and inconsistent processes across departments. The CIO wants a solution that provides end-to-end visibility into these elements and aligns with future strategy. What is the most appropriate approach? A. Implement only a service architecture for improved coordination. B. Design a roadmap using environmental architecture to address legal risks. C. Adopt a full architecture management practice covering all architecture domains. D. Apply automation scripts to speed up deployment and ignore architecture gaps. The correct answer is C. Adopt a full architecture management practice covering all architecture domains. Now let's explain why this is the best option and why the others are not. Adopting a full architecture management practice gives the organization a comprehensive view across business, service, information, technology, and environmental domains. This level of visibility allows for better handling of complexity and ensures alignment with future strategies. In contrast, implementing only a service architecture, as stated in option A, improves coordination in one domain but fails to address broader architectural concerns. Similarly, option B, which focuses on environmental architecture, may help identify external risks but doesn't tackle internal inconsistencies or duplicated efforts. Lastly, option D proposes ignoring architectural gaps, which is risky. It may speed up deployment in the short term, but will exacerbate long-term challenges due to unaddressed misalignments. Therefore, for an enterprise seeking long-term strategic change management, only a comprehensive architectural approach, like option C, will suffice. For each statement below, indicate whether it is true or false. KPIs should always focus on individuals for maximum accountability. False CSFs are necessary conditions for achieving business objectives. True. A good dashboard helps identify bottlenecks and distance from targets. True reports should be customized based on the needs of the recipient. True. Now, let's break it down and understand each choice. The first statement is false. While KPIs are important for tracking performance, focusing only on individuals can lead to unhealthy competition and blame culture. In practice, team-based KPIs often yield better collaboration and overall accountability. The second statement is true. Critical success factors, or CSFs, are the key areas where things must go right for the business to achieve its goals. Without addressing these, objectives can easily be missed. Next, a good dashboard should indeed highlight both progress and bottlenecks. This is true because without knowing what's slowing you down or how far you are from your targets, performance improvement becomes guesswork. Finally, reports must be tailored to the needs of the reader. This is true because a technical report for a developer will differ from an executive summary. Relevance drives decision-making value. So in short, aligning KPIs and reports with strategic needs while using tools like CSFs and dashboards wisely creates a more informed and productive business environment. A company practicing agile portfolio management wants to ensure that teams align their projects and decisions with broad organizational goals. To do this, they use visual tools to group work under common areas of strategic focus. What concept best supports this approach? Select one answer. A. Product backlog. B. Strategic themes. C. Time-boxed sprints. D. Change advisory boards. The correct answer is strategic themes. Let's break this down clearly. Strategic themes are essential in agile portfolio management because they help connect team-level work to broader organizational goals. They provide a visual framework that guides decisions and ensures alignment across different teams and projects. Product backlog, while important, is mainly used at the team level to manage specific tasks and stories. It doesn't serve the portfolio-wide purpose. Time-boxed sprints are a delivery mechanism used by teams to structure their work within short, focused intervals, but they are not used for strategic alignment. Change advisory boards, on the other hand, are governance tools used for approving and managing changes, and they belong more to change enablement than agile portfolio strategy. So, strategic themes are the right choice when we're talking about aligning initiatives visually across an entire organization. For each statement below, indicate whether the answer is true or false. Lean strategy helps balance rigidity with experimentation. True. Strategy should avoid guiding innovation to encourage freedom. False. Strategy management helps organizations respond to changes in customer perceived value. True. Customers are often willing to pay more for higher quality outcomes regardless of cost efficiency. False. Let's now explain these answers. Lean strategy is designed to navigate between traditional, rigid planning and flexible experimentation. It supports quick adaptation, which makes it highly effective in today's fast-changing environments. On the other hand, saying strategy should avoid guiding innovation is incorrect. While innovation thrives in freedom, it still needs strategic direction to stay aligned with organizational goals and priorities. Moreover, strategy management plays a crucial role in helping companies respond effectively to evolving customer expectations and perceived value, especially in a competitive market. Lastly, while it may seem like customers will pay more for quality, in reality, they often expect both higher quality and cost efficiency. That's why businesses are pushed to deliver better outcomes without raising prices. A new service is about to go live. The team has focused heavily on making sure it rarely fails, high MTBF. However, leadership is concerned that even a few seconds of failure will result in customer loss. What should the team focus on now? Select one answer. A. Improving service change scheduling. B. Enhancing mean time to restore service, MTRS, and recovery processes. C. Delegating recovery to incident management. D. Removing all automation from recovery steps. The correct answer is B. Enhancing mean time to restore service, MTRS, and recovery processes. Let's go through the explanation. The team already has a high mean time between failures, which means the service rarely goes down. However, the concern now is how quickly it can recover when it does go down. That's where mean time to restore service comes in. Focusing on MTRS ensures that even if a failure happens, its impact is minimal due to quick recovery. Now, while improving service change scheduling is useful for reducing change-related issues, it doesn't directly enhance recovery during unexpected outages. Delegating recovery to incident management is reactive. Instead, recovery needs to be proactively designed and integrated into service planning. And finally, removing automation from recovery processes goes against the goal. Automation speeds up recovery. Taking it away only increases manual delays and the risk of human error. So again, the best approach is to enhance MTRS and recovery processes. Indicate whether each statement is true or false. Monitoring is a prerequisite for event management, but not all monitoring results in events. True. Event correlation must always be performed manually to ensure accuracy. False. Exception events should always trigger an organizational response. Suppliers may be contractually required to share monitoring data. True. Now let's explain each response clearly. The first statement is true. Monitoring provides the observable data needed to detect events. However, not all monitored data leads to events. Only specific conditions do. The second statement is false. While manual correlation can be used in some complex cases, it is not required in every scenario. In fact, automation is often essential to manage high volumes of events accurately and efficiently. The third statement is true. Exception events typically signal breaches or abnormal conditions that need immediate attention, so they should always trigger a response to prevent escalation. Finally, the fourth statement is also true. Supplier contracts should include clear requirements for sharing monitoring data to ensure visibility and accountability across the service supply chain. For each statement below, indicate whether the answer is true or false. The definition of a disaster must be agreed upon in advance per service and organization. True. A business impact analysis, BIA, is used only after a disaster has occurred. False. External stakeholders like regulators may require assurance of disaster readiness. Only internal IT teams are considered stakeholders in a disaster event. Let me explain each of these answers. The first statement is true because organizations must clearly define what constitutes a disaster for each service ahead of time. This is essential for a consistent and effective response, and it's usually established during the business impact analysis phase. The second statement is false. BIA is not something that happens after a disaster. It's a forward-looking tool. It's conducted in advance to identify and prioritize critical services, assess potential impacts, and plan response strategies. The third statement is true. External stakeholders such as regulators or industry bodies may need evidence that the organization is prepared for disasters, especially in regulated sectors. And the fourth statement is false because the stakeholders in a disaster scenario include more than just the internal IT team. Customers, vendors, partners, and even government agencies may all be considered stakeholders, depending on the scope of the incident. What are two primary purposes of service level agreements, SLAs? Select two answers. A, to define and agree on expected service quality between provider and customer. B, to ensure only technical metrics are used to evaluate services. C, to measure service performance from a customer perspective. D, to separate business goals from service delivery activities. The correct answers are A and C. Let's break this down. Option A is correct because one of the main goals of an SLA is to clearly define and agree upon service expectations between the provider and the customer. It ensures both sides are aligned on service scope, performance targets, and responsibilities. Option C is also correct. SLAs emphasize evaluating service quality from the customer's viewpoint, not just the internal metrics of the service provider. This includes user satisfaction, availability, and responsiveness. Option B is incorrect because SLAs should not rely only on technical or component level metrics. Broader performance indicators tied to business value are more important. Option D is also incorrect. SLAs are meant to connect, not separate, business goals from service delivery. The intention is alignment, so both IT services and business outcomes work hand in hand. How does architecture management contribute during the engage activity of the service value chain? Select one answer. A, by publishing service models to external customers. B, by assessing the organization's readiness to adapt to new markets and co-create value. C, by processing incident requests from the customer base. D, by deploying infrastructure as code pipelines for rapid provisioning. The correct answer is B, by assessing the organization's readiness to adapt to new markets and co-create value. Now let's take a moment to explain why this is the best choice and why the others don't quite fit. To begin, architecture management supports the engage activity by evaluating how well the organization is positioned to respond to market shifts and opportunities. This includes aligning internal capabilities with external demands so that services can evolve alongside customer needs. That's why option B is correct. On the other hand, option A refers to publishing service models, which are internal reference documents. These aren't meant for external customers and thus don't align with the purpose of the engage activity. Option C is also incorrect because processing incident requests belongs to incident management, not architecture. It's reactive, whereas architecture management is strategic and proactive. Lastly, option D talks about infrastructure as code, which is a deployment technique used in technical execution phases. It doesn't relate to high-level engagement strategies or business alignment. So again, architecture management contributes best to engagement by assessing readiness to change and helping the organization co-create value with its stakeholders. What is a key consideration when setting metrics for managed objects such as people, services, or suppliers? Select one answer. A, each object must have metrics completely independent from others. B, metrics must be tied strictly to financial growth alone. C, indicators for different managed objects may be interrelated and affect each other. D, KPIs should always be based on customer reviews. The correct answer is C. Indicators for different managed objects may be interrelated and affect each other. Now, let me explain why this is the right choice and why the others fall short. When managing complex systems like IT services, people, or suppliers, interdependencies are natural. One action or outcome often influences another. That's why it's essential to assess KPIs in context, not in isolation. Option C reflects this holistic reality. In contrast, option A claims that each object should have completely independent metrics. While independence sounds tidy, it ignores how interconnected modern systems truly are. Option B narrows the focus too much by tying metrics only to financial growth. While important, finances aren't the only success factor. Efficiency, satisfaction, and innovation also count. Lastly, option D overemphasizes customer reviews. Although valuable, reviews are subjective and don't capture all aspects of performance. They should complement, not dominate, KPI planning. So, the most accurate and comprehensive answer is C. Metrics should consider interrelationships between managed objects. Which two roles does strategy play in innovation and evaluation according to the strategy management practice? Select two answers. A. Strategy acts as a filter for creative ideas. B. Strategy replaces the need for evaluating new ideas. C. Defines how to punish failed experiments. D. Strategy serves as a benchmark for assessing SVS success. The correct answers are A. Strategy acts as a filter for creative ideas. D. Strategy serves as a benchmark for assessing SVS success. Now let's walk through the explanation so it all makes sense. Strategy plays a vital role in innovation by acting as a filter for creative ideas. This means it helps ensure new concepts are aligned with organizational goals. Not every idea, however novel, is a good fit unless it supports the bigger picture. Likewise, strategy provides a benchmark for assessing the success of the service value system, SVS. It sets the standards and expectations so you can objectively measure whether the SVS is delivering intended value. On the other hand, option B is incorrect because evaluation remains essential, even for ideas that align with strategy. Strategy doesn't eliminate the need for thorough analysis. And option C is clearly wrong since strategy doesn't exist to punish failure. Instead, it fosters innovation and continuous improvement, even through trial and error. In summary, strategy shapes direction and ensures alignment, not control through avoidance or punishment. Your business analyst team has produced a comprehensive set of solution recommendations. Before development begins, they meet again with stakeholders to review and verify everything. Why is this step critical? Select one answer. A. It allows budget increases to be approved immediately. B. It ensures solutions are technically viable even without stakeholder input. C. It validates recommendations to prevent costly misalignment or rejection. D. It accelerates implementation by reducing documentation effort. The correct answer is C. It validates recommendations to prevent costly misalignment or rejection. Now let me explain why this step matters so much. When a business analyst team revisits its recommendations with stakeholders, the goal isn't just a formality. This validation ensures that everyone interprets the proposed solutions correctly and that no key concerns have been overlooked. Involving stakeholders in this way boosts buy-in and drastically reduces the risk of later resistance or failure. In contrast, approving budgets, as in option A, is a separate financial process and not tied directly to validating the solution's alignment. Similarly, assuming technical viability without stakeholder input, option B, is risky Stakeholder engagement is essential to confirm the recommendations meet actual needs. Lastly, reducing documentation, option D, might save time, but validation is about accuracy, not speed. So this review step is critical because it catches misalignment early, ensures support, and prevents costly do-overs. Which three statements are true about monitoring and event management in ITL? Select three answers. A. Monitoring can be active, polling, or passive alerts. B. Not all monitored data results in an event. C. Events can initiate other practices such as incident or change control. D. All events must be handled manually by technical staff. Correct answers are A. Monitoring can be active, polling, or passive alerts. B. Not all monitored data results in an event. C. Events can initiate other practices such as incident or change control. Let me now explain each one for clarity. ITIL describes monitoring as either active or passive. Active monitoring, such as polling, regularly checks the state of a component, while passive monitoring relies on alerts generated by the system. Both approaches serve different purposes, but work together to ensure complete visibility. Not every piece of monitored data is considered an event. For example, routine fluctuations in CPU usage may be recorded, but don't trigger an event unless they cross a predefined threshold. That's why it's important to understand that monitoring is broader than just event detection. Also, when an event does occur, it can trigger other ITIL practices like incident management, change control, or problem management. This enables a quick and structured response, preventing disruption or escalating the issue proactively. On the other hand, not all events are handled manually. Many are dealt with automatically using scripts or automated tools, especially in large environments where real-time response is critical. So, those three correct options give you a solid understanding of how monitoring and event management function in practice. Which two factors are important when negotiating a release schedule with customers? Select two answers. A. Customer availability and expectations. B. Toolchain used in development. C. Number of testers in the QA team. D. Organizational strategy and service portfolio. The correct answers are A. Customer availability and expectations. D. Organizational strategy and service portfolio. Let's go through the explanation. Customer availability and expectations directly influence the success of a release. If users aren't ready to adopt the changes, even the most technically sound release can fall flat. That's why timing must align with user readiness and needs. In addition, the organizational strategy and service portfolio determine the broader business context for releases. They help guide decisions about what services to release, when to release them, and how they fit into the company's overall goals and offerings. Now, the toolchain used in development, while important for execution, doesn't factor directly into customer scheduling conversations. Likewise, the number of testers in the QA team affects internal workload, not external coordination. So, customer-facing and strategic considerations should always take priority when planning a release timeline. Your organization is preparing to launch a new IT service. You've been asked to ensure effective early life support, including proper communication with users during the launch phase. The service desk team must also assist with post-launch support activities. Which two actions should the service desk participate in to fulfill this responsibility? Select two answers. A. Assist in release planning and early life support. B. Provide third-level technical escalations. C. Communicate with users about new or changed services. D. Design system architecture for the new service. E. Develop AI models to handle release issues. The correct answers are A. Assist in release planning and early life support. C. Communicate with users about new or changed services. Now let's explain why. Service desk staff are not just there to answer tickets. They play a critical role in release planning and early life support. Their involvement helps ensure users experience a smooth transition and that any issues can be resolved quickly during the critical early phases of service rollout. Additionally, one of the service desk's primary responsibilities is to act as a communication bridge. By communicating with users about changes, updates, or new services, they help manage expectations, reduce confusion, and support user adoption. On the other hand, providing third-level technical escalations is beyond their scope. This falls to highly specialized teams. Similarly, designing system architecture is typically handled by system engineers or solution architects, not the service desk. Developing AI models, that's the domain of data science or engineering teams, not frontline support. So again, the correct focus for the service desk in this context is early life support and user communication.